Hi, this is Shadi. Today I want to discuss Harasawa's arguments against Uchikomi and Kuzushi and his alternative way, in a sense, of how to unbalance. But before I do that, I would like to actually thank Harasawa and Hanpan TV for this massive debate because if it wasn't for it, I wouldn't have done extra research and actually tailored Uchimata to my own needs as someone who started very late. Of course, Harasawa is a massive champion. I've seen him compete live and I was in awe watching him do his Uchimata at the All Japan. So again, I'm very thankful for this, although I disagree with their approach. I think we're just talking past each other at this point. But people saying they're correct and we should drill more combatively. However, I think we have a lack of education when it comes to the fundamentals. And to Hanpan TV, I called your video stupid in the past. I would like to apologize. I let my feelings get in the way and I shouldn't have. We can be adults and disagree on something and debate it with an open mind. So I hope you accept my apology. So today I'm gonna be going through Harasawa's claims one by one, but also it is very important to say this. There is no lies behind the fundamentals. There is no ineffective ways that were handed down to us. I think we are just not being educated when everything is tailored around sports and just winning. If we look at Nage no Kata by the Kodokan, the most important message is the following.
This kata was created to help understand and master the theoretical basis of each technique, from Kuzushi, balance breaking, to Tsukuri, setup, to Kake, execution. By practicing the kata, students learn the basics of Nage waza.
So here he says that Uchikomi doesn't work in a real fight, and of course I agree. Uchikomi is utsu, so to hit continuously. It is to drill, to build a habit. He's saying that you have to unbalance position and throw, of course, and this is of course crucial in judo. Uchikomi is not Kuzushi. Yes, there is Kuzushi in Uchikomi, but they differ. So, for example, if you go to competition class, sometimes the timer goes down in those drop sets and it's 10 seconds left and you have to do as much repetition as possible. You're basically working your cardio, your muscles, and basically the will to go on, not necessarily Kuzushi. So here you can see this Happo no Kuzushi. He is showing you basically the 8 directions, all of them one by one without moving. Of course, if we can do unbalancing like this with our wrists and fingers only, of course nobody would need judo, but this is just to show the basic effects of Kuzushi. So they're showing you the directions and how it should look like. However, the practice is more like this. It's the entire body that is pushing and absorbing and pulling. It is never about doing it from a static position. Remember, this was created by very small yet very intelligent men, and we should practice it the way they have taught it, especially us, the vast majority, not the elite athletes. They can get away with far more than you and I can. So here you can see the way they are training it. So he says that when you do it like this from a static position, they're gonna resist, and of course it's not gonna work. Then he proposes something alternative where you are actually unbalancing them and then going for the actual attack. So he says you only need Tsukuri and Kake, you don't need Kuzushi. I disagree, but here the first one is Hikidashi, clearly doing Kuzushi, and then he does it. So pulling like this and creating distance is Kuzushi in and of itself. It's not Uchikomi. If you look at Nage no Kata, they all make uke walk, or the vast majority of the attacks, they absorb uke in, they open up the sleeve as they are retreating, because then it is only possible, and then they position themselves for the attack. It was never about opening up as you just stand there. Haraigoshi is a great example. The rotation of the hips to truly get that sleeve opened before launching the leg, whether it's Haraigoshi or Uchimata, it is crucial to actually go back with your entire body, absorb uke, and then Tsukuri, where you rotate the hips and the sleeve will follow, and then finally you just launch the leg. And of course, the greatest example of Kuzushi is Ashibarai, where you're just moving them, they're very light on their feet, and then you can just swiftly end it all. It's not about opening up like this and you get them on the tip of their toes. That was never the message. That was never how Kuzushi was supposed to function. Here, if you look at Suzuki, look how much he walks him back before he decides to attack, to get him light on his feet, making him weigh far less, then engaging the hands and attacking. Of course, we neglect Nage no Kata, and it's to our detriment. Here you see Ebinuma. I don't know how many times I've shared this. People, when were criticizing me, saying there is zero evidence that people create distance then attack in competition. Well, okay, here is the lack of evidence number one. Sasaki against Maruyama, Kuzushi, and then Tsukuri, followed by Kake and Ippon. Lack of evidence number two, Ono versus Basile. You can see he pulls Kuzushi, and then Tsukuri, followed by Kake, and Fabio over rotates, but you get the message. Now, again, I can't stress this enough. We are quite literally looking at the exception of the rule when we watch this judo. 99% of people are not built like they are. I've met Kosei in a way. We're the same height, but we're not the same size. He's just built differently. Not everyone can do this Uchimata from this position, and of course he's using a lot of hips. It's more of a hanegoshi, but still to do it from this position, almost it's impossible for a normal person launching someone there's the same weight. I can do it with the 60 kilograms maybe, or maybe a little bit less. So now the second one is feinting. So in one direction, then you attack in the other direction, putting them in a position that is prone to the attack.
Tomoe nage. Tori pushes uke, and uke resists by pushing back. At that moment, Tori releases uke's sleeve and grabs his front collar. He simultaneously lowers his body and places the ball of his right foot on uke's lower abdomen to throw him over his head. The key to Tomoe nage is for Tori to pull uke towards him with both hands to break his balance. Yoko guruma. Tori makes use of uke's attempt to strike his tento to apply uranage. But anticipating this, uke bends forward at the waist to defend himself. Taking advantage of uke's position, Tori breaks uke's balance to the direct front and slides his right foot between uke's legs and throws uke over his left shoulder. Uke should make it clear that he is bending over sharply to avoid being thrown with uranage.
Finally, let's go back to the first points they made, Harasawa and Hanpan TV, the flared elbow and the hikite being pulled to the stomach. That's if you are treating it as a koshiwaza. First, the elbow really doesn't need to be flared. You can just open the wrist a bit. But the hikite, again, it depends. Are you treating it as an ashiwaza or a koshiwaza? Here, Yasuhiro Yamashita is saying when you're doing uchimata, and here it looks like an ashiwaza, hikite should be pushed downwards, not to the stomach, because they can easily resist by pulling their sleeve, and also it unbalances them even further. So they're almost ready to be thrown, as he says, because when you put it to your stomach, they're still high up and they can pull it back and avoid the throw. He even explains that a lot of Japanese players, as he tells them to push it down like this, they say yes, and then they continue to pull it to the stomach. It's a very normal reflex that a lot of us have, and it's easier said than done, as he explains. But you have to push. So here's a great example. So he pulls again Kuzushi, Tsukuri, Kake, but then he pulls the hikite to his stomach, and then Bashayev actually retreats his hand, you can see, which avoided the throw altogether. So if he had pushed it down, I'm sure it would have worked. Kano Shihan put the Inage no kata for a very specific reason, and it was not for you to go from brown belt to black belt. I'm sorry, this is not what it was made for. It's to understand the various ways of unbalancing and the various situations of unbalancing. It was never about just with your hands putting someone on their tiptoes. This is what happens when you take something that is meant for education and you just make it into a mass sport, and then you take kids as 3 years old and you just have them drill and drill and drill, go out and win. Harasawa is over 6 feet tall and well over 100 kilos. He can get away with a lot more than you and I. I'm 71 kilograms at 181 centimeters. That's very skinny. So what he can do, I can never do in my entire life. My best bet is to actually pull, create distance, and then turn, which has worked. And I'm very thankful for all of this, because it has allowed me to work my own uchimata as well. So if you enjoyed this and you have anything to add, let me know down below. Don't forget to check out my book, in the pinned comment. And if you have anything to add,